nice smooth finish with your buttercream. What I suggest is when you use your bench scraper, try and dip it in some really hot water. Or if you have a blowtorch, maybe use that. So as you turn it around, you get a really nice smooth finish. Okay. And I will repeat, the most important thing sometimes is even if it's not 100%, but if you hit 90, take that win. Take that win. It's better than trying and going again for 100 and then it falls down to 80%. All right, so sometimes you just gotta call it. Okay, so where's my brother? Do me a favor, Annie, can you microwave this for 10 seconds, please? Thank you. All right. So, just to show you some of these things. So that's my 250 grams of marzipan. This is what we're going to be working with. So we are going to be rolling the marzipan and covering it. Okay. Anytime you try and cover a cake, there's a few things that you have to keep in mind. If you use marzipan and fondant, both pretty similar processes. But there's a few points to keep in mind when you're doing it. Right? If you roll out your marzipan or your fondant, if you roll it out really big and then try to lay it on the top, that's one way of doing it, right? You roll out a really big circle and then you try putting it on the top. Sometimes what I notice is, thank you so much, is it just cracks on the side. Okay? So I'll talk to you about that and how to fix it. And we don't need a very thick layer on the top for this because it is going to be covered with marzipan. Now, the reason I did ask all of you to make sure the sides are really smooth is because if it wasn't, when you cover your marzipan, it's not going to hide the imperfections, right? If your cake is uneven from the side, just by adding marzipan on the top, it's not going to change anything for you either. So, for that reason, make it a habit before you start off. You always want to make sure that your cakes are nice and smooth all around the side as well as the top. Since this cake is cold, it should go pretty fast. Little dent there, so fix that part. Quite a bit of patience when you do that. Awesome. Okay, so just going to take that to Okay, so as that's going in the fridge, brown and white green. Now, the one thing you will notice with most marzipan, as you leave them, they tend to get a little crust on the outside. That is very normal. Right, to avoid that, what you could do is wrap them in saran wrap and put them in a Ziploc bag. Okay, if you cut off the air supply, your marzipan holds much better. What I also sometimes like to do is I would take a bit of shortening and just rub it around there and then store it. That shortening forms a layer of fat around your marzipan, which means it doesn't come in contact with air and it will not expire. So when you use some cornstarch, what a lot of people even like to do when you're working is you might notice they like to use icing sugar instead of cornstarch. It does the same job. My only challenge is, when you work with icing sugar, especially in the summer months, it gets very sticky. In winter months, you're fine, but in summer, it's so humid that gets really sticky. So that's why I just like to use cornstarch. It just goes nice and consistent all around. What some people also like to do is to make a little bag with cornstarch. So I'll show you what I'm going to try it. So you just take a rag, some cornstarch in it. Just try it on. So what this does is essentially you can dust cornstarch all around. So saves you the trouble of sometimes I don't know, you a Salt Bay. I love the technique, but you just don't. You just can't get it as even as it is. So sometimes maybe that's a better option for you. When we do fondant tomorrow, you're definitely going to need that. So if you wanted to make one, either tie it up or you can use saran wrap or an elastic band and just hold it together. But that's a great tool to learn. Okay, so we're going to start rolling our wheel. I roll it thin. I wouldn't say too thin, but just the thickness of what you might think a leaf is. We've got some round cutters. And my cutters are slightly different than yours because I picked up my stuff on Amazon. So let's go and find I'll probably check with your cutters what size this is and let you know. So get a round cutter and you're just going to cut out a little circle. Once you cut that circle out, use your cutter and you're just going to cut off a little portion, something like a half moon. So that's going to leave you something that looks like a leaf. Not done with it yet. Use your knife, make a little line in the center, and then just some more indents in there. So it has kind of a leaf-like appearance. And then take it between your thumb and your index finger and you're just going to twist it. Right, just moving in a different direction. Okay, so you can do that. If you have leaf cutters, I don't know if you have leaf cutters in your toolbox. I think you do. You can use those too. If not, if you didn't bring them today, you could also use this technique. So we do maybe about 5 leaves. You don't want too many. I might even think 3 might be okay. But let's do a couple. It doesn't hurt. Unlike fondant, marzipan doesn't dry too much because it's got a lot of oil in it. It usually stays moist for much longer. So when you make figurines or products with marzipan, what I suggest is make them at least a day in advance. That way, if they need to hold a particular shape, they will do that. With fondant, I feel fondant dries a little faster. The fondant tastes awful. Some people really hate fondant. They hate eating fondant. I don't know. I don't mind it personally, but okay. So do about 5 leaves with that. And then if you have whatever leftover green you have, I don't know, maybe take it home, eat it. It's good to eat, make some croissants or something. Put them in there. It's good to eat. Very healthy. Minus the icing sugar. Because I'm not going to have any use for it. This is the last class and there's nothing until April, so I don't want to go down to it. Okay, get your brown, same thing again. Need it. It's not crusty anymore. Okay, to make your wines, you're just gonna take a little bit of marzipan. Clear up any excess cornstarch that might be on your section, and you're just going to start rolling it into a roll. Okay, you should have a cake soon. I'm going to try and find mine. Somewhere. But if you don't have one, here's a trick, right? A cake board does the job. Sometimes you gotta just make it happen. one of those days. Okay, so we're just gonna roll it into a string. Now, if you notice, the way you want that string to be is thin at one side, thick on the other. Okay, you take that and just twist it. Do a few of those. If you notice the marzipan's cracking, that's because you put too much cornstarch on it. It's drying out. Okay, so if you just rub it between your hands, like I just did for the first bit, that would help, and it won't crack. And just do. And again, you can do different, different shapes, different moves with it. I would do about 3 of those maybe. That should be plenty. Alrighty, so you've got your 3 wines. Should have a big extra too. It's going to take with you. Okay. Once your stuff's done, do you mind pulling that cake out, please? Thank you. Marzipan, we're going to keep it just the way it is. Check your hands before you get started. Sometimes if you've got some brown or some green on them, it's going to transfer pretty easily on them. So might not be very nice if that happens. See, I said that and I just did it. It's clear on my hands. And you must have done it differently maybe before, where you've rolled really huge. You can buy some of those mats. I don't know if you've seen them, but they have little circles on the inside to tell you how big to roll. Great base, great kind of tool to have, but really not very useful if you are trying to cover a tall cake. Because 9 out of 10 times when you work with marzipan, it's much softer than fondant. So if you roll it really large and then try and cover your cake with that, and what I find is the edge of the beer is because it's so hard, it rips through your marzipan, and then it will just be into 2 pieces. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do the 2 pieces separately. So we'll do the top first, and then we'll do this side. Okay. So to do the top, the one thing that you want to try and avoid doing is kneading your marzipan or fondant before you start rolling. You want it to be firm. The fats and the oils in there are kind of really well blended with the icing sugar. So you want to make sure you don't ruin that. If you knead your marzipan for too long, it gets too soft, which makes it difficult for you to handle. Okay? So first order of business, we're just gonna try and get a nice little circle out of it. So keep rolling. As you're rolling, what I suggest is make sure you keep moving it around the table so that it doesn't stick on there. Also, marzipan is great to eat, but if there's too much, it just takes away your palate and it doesn't taste that great. Okay, so what I suggest is don't roll up marzipan really thick, because again, this is money that's going on that cake. Right, so the thicker you roll your marzipan, the more marzipan you're going to need, which means the more expensive your cake's going to be. So I'll tell you the thickness that we're looking for in this little portion here. So that feels a little bit thick. So this is point 3. I should probably do percent.
Yeah, millimeters.
I was on the wrong side. Yeah, still should be the same, but yeah. So 0.3, okay, which is like less than 1 centimeter. It should be 3 little lines. That's how thick you want it to be. Perfect. Will you roll that? Move it around. Do you mind maybe passing me around cake ring from the bottom, please? Right. Get a cake ring. Make sure it fits the top. Clean. Take that. And you can cut out of this. You will notice it might be slightly smaller, and that's okay. You can always stretch it. You can always move it around. When you're doing this step, your buttercream needs to be firm. It needs to be solid. You can do it when you just ice your cake because it's gonna be a nightmare, I can tell you. Okay? I have my little shift.
I'll show this one. That way we know how to use it.
I mean, it's not rocket science, you know. You hold it.
Well, hey, I'm new in this.
I'm just kidding, man. Yeah. So you just wanna just make sure you keep rounding it off. You'll see a little bit there. So just work on that. Again, not too much pressure. You're just trying to smoothen it out. That's the purpose of it. If you don't have that, this does the job equally. If you want to make, not having good tools is not a reason.
Hey, we paid for that, and they gave us 2 of them.
They give you 2 of them?
Yeah.
You don't even give me 1. Look at that. Okay, so if there's a little bit on the outside, don't worry about it because when you put your side, it's going to get covered. Okay, but for the most part, this needs to be nice and even. Step back, look at it. It should be flat. If you notice it's slightly wonky, that probably means the marzipan's too thick on one side. So go back, keep working on it until it's nice and flat. Okay? Awesome. And take back to you in a moment. Rest of your marzipan, we're going to take that and roll it up again. But this time, instead of rolling it into a disc, we're going to start off like a boule. Everybody made the baguettes. We probably did this step. So just rolling it in slightly elongated shape. Because the next step involves going all around. Okay? You know the formula to calculate the circumference?
Yep. 2 radius by pi.
So what is that?
There you go, same thing, different order.
To make it simple, okay? If this is a 6-inch cake, right? Multiply that by 3. It's going to be about 18 inches. That's how wide you need to go. Okay? So that's one way to do it. You can do it the top way.
Or ask Google.
Or ask Google to figure it for you. Chat GPT, ask Chat GPT, see what it says. I was car shopping on the weekend, right? And then my wife's like, "Oh, I want this car, I want this car." And I go like, "No, that's a terrible car. It's too expensive." Because a Toyota, you have to wait 6 months for the new Toyota, And a used Toyota, 3 years older, is costing you more than a brand new. So then she was like, "Yeah, I want a RAV4, I want a RAV4." And you're like, it's awful. Why do you want to pay so much, right? I mean, no point. So then I said, okay, we can't solve this, let ChatGPT decide.
Oh boy.
So ChatGPT, and I said, ChatGPT, which one would you recommend? Toyota RAV4 or a Nissan Rogue?
It's not even a comparison.
ChatGPT comes up. I don't have emotions. I can't make those decisions for you.
Wow, that's so good.
I'm only what it said something. I'm only a system where I can help you make the best decision.
That's good.
So yeah, good on that. Good thing. We went to the Toyota and they were like, "Yeah, you'll get one sometime next year, March, maybe April." And so I was like, "Yay, we're not getting one." It's good. So the Rogue it is. Easy decision. Okay. Actually, School of Business, I don't know if you've heard of this, but in State School of Business is having trouble because a lot of students are now using ChatGPT to do their assignments. So it's the future. Okay, so as you see, I'm trying to roll this into a long little strip. Alright, we're gonna go about 18 odd inches. If it's slightly longer, that's okay. If it's slightly shorter, maybe just extend it. Now, the height for everyone's cake is gonna be slightly different. Mine is about 4.5. So I'm just gonna make sure when I roll it, it is 4.5 all throughout. Okay. Also, when you're rolling this, if you notice there's a little dent over here, you see it's a little curve over here, make sure you work on that before you actually move forward. Because you want that nice 4 inches, 4.5 inches split all around.
加上是 what we use that.
Let's see. 18, 15. That should be good. Okay. A little more. Now, use your ruler. And based on your size, if your cake, now even if your cake's, so mine's about 4.3, but I'm gonna go slightly taller, slightly higher, so that you have enough room to play with. Yes, I'm gonna do about 4.5 for mine. I'm gonna make some indents, maybe even slightly larger than that. Make it on one side, then go over here, do the same thing on this side here. Perfect. And here's your ruler. Right. Okay. Perfect. Now, in order to make it easy for you to put it on there, what I suggest is, and this is an important step, so make sure you put a good amount of cornstarch, use your rolling pin, and you're just gonna roll it. Roll it on one end of your rolling pin, so that makes it easy for you to work with it. As you get to the end, I'm gonna trim off the excess. Okay. Take that. And just start placing it on. So, moving my hands, and I'm turning the rolling pin at the same time. A shot. Should have stretched my marzipan. Hey, it's okay.
唔係佢可能抹抹下咧，又會越嚟越好。
So, because my buttercream was nice and cold, I could do that. Buttercream was soft, can do that. Right? Fixing makes it really difficult. So, tends to shrink sometimes. Okay, let's give it another shot. Less this time. I think I trimmed off too much last time. That was probably the reason. Okay, let's give it a shot. Number 2. Oh, it's always nice when it works out in the second attempt. Now, you have this little spot over here where you are going to notice there'll be a little bit of an opening. So what we're going to do is take a little bit of buttercream and just smear it. So I'll show it around. Just a little bit of buttercream. Okay. Once buttercream's there, you're going to use your paring knife. If you just rub through, you'll see a little line coming through over there. You're just going to cut a little bit besides it, so you overlap just by a little tiny bit. When you use your paring knife, don't push it too deep because it just needs to cut the top layer, not the second layer you're doing. Okay? So spread. Otherwise he's gonna be like, how do we use it?
You're welcome, chef.
I'm trying. Okay, so just working on the curvature, just rubbing it back and forth. You can go this way. Both does the job equally well. Focus a little bit on the top, make sure it seals. Important. Okay. Now, once that step is done, you see there's a little overlap, there's a little extra on the side, so we're just gonna cut that. Use a really nice paring knife, which is clean, so it cuts through. Just gonna take that knife, keep it parallel on the top, and you're just gonna push in. Just pushing in. I'm not going back and forth because that's gonna rip the marzipan off. I'm just pushing it in, right? That motion is important. Also, as I do that, I'm trying to make sure I don't cut the top. Okay. One more time. And you see the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
And not the best. So use your paring knife. Just gonna keep it just on the edge over there, parallel to your cake, and you're just gonna run it out. So I'll give you a nice cake. Right. Done yet? Okay, any questions so far, folks?
No.
No. So, what
Beautiful.
could go wrong when you do? One of the mistakes that a lot of students make is, they pull out their cake way too early, and then the buttercream gets soft. If your buttercream gets soft, it's not gonna help, right? So that's why leave it in the fridge. And I'm saying fridge, not freezer, because if your buttercream is frozen, as soon as you put your marzipan on the top, it will start to get moist. There will be condensation happening, right? Because your cake is cold. Marzipan is going to get too cold. The weather is not that cold, so it is going to be very sticky on the outside. That's why you want to wrap it when it's just from the fridge. Okay. Okay. Last couple of steps to do. We'll take a little bit of that plain marzipan, roll it into a nice long string to do a little border. And then just gonna clean it up first. When you put that around, just make sure the seam comes together. Where your marzipan on the sides coming, this one too needs to come to the same spot. That. Very good. So it's good. Just one more thing to do. Now, again, mine are mix and match, but you probably have something similar in your toolkit.
We do.
The fondant tools. Right, you're probably gonna have one that looks like a claw, right, a seashell. You're gonna use that one, and you're just gonna start pushing it down. Just a little imprint on there. Move aside to the next. If it gets sticky on starch, I push that in, push it down. Okay, so that gives you a really nice border on the outside. That's it. Now, just about putting the flowers on the top, putting everything together. So, you will use a little bit of buttercream, and for this purpose, you can use any buttercream that you have available. So, grab your roses. Before you commit to the way you want to put them, just place them on the top and see what they look like. All right, we're going to place them in the center. Squeeze them around. Got some of those leaves. And use some lines. Yellow down. A few lines are good. Perfect. Also making sure that the nice part or the most of the flowers are facing to the front and not to this little seam that we have. Right, that's the one drawback that you will have when you do cakes this way, is you have a little seam. You can try and blend it in as much as possible, but it will still be visible. And I think it's a small price to pay because it makes your task so much easier. It takes less marzipan, because if you try and cover the whole thing, you need a lot of marzipan. And also, it's a lot more challenging to cover cakes when you do the whole thing like that. Okay, so once you're happy with what it looks like, you can then take a bit of buttercream, pick them up, and start putting them in there as well. It's easier this way, so you do one at a time. That way you know exactly what you've done and how it's going to stay, compared to just going on the fly. And then, because if you have to move them, it's not going to be that good. You will see some cornstarch in there, and to get rid of that, just going to use a pastry brush, not a pastry brush, a little paint brush. Looks good. Water, brush, take it off, and you can just brush that cornstarch in. Yeah? So not too much water because it's going to make the marzipan super sticky. Just the right amount. Take out all the extra water. That way you get a nice froze. Doesn't have cornstarch on it. It's more nice. All right, gang. So that's your cake. That's your almond cake. Questions? Yes.
Why you use the marzipan toasted? It's not delicious, it's expensive.
No, you don't like marzipan. So marzipan is a great source to work with. I know it doesn't taste, it tastes a little artificial sometimes, but in this cake especially, because it's got almond on the inside, right? Anytime you have cakes which have nuts on the inside, you want to make sure that you kind of put something on the outside too, right? Part of the Intro to Course curriculum has marzipan as a subject to work with. Today, it's not a very commonly used ingredient. But 10 years ago, everything, like you would find fondant wasn't that big, it was more marzipan cakes. Like even actually you'd be surprised, even if you look at the apprenticeship program today, with the baking, it's marzipan covered cakes, not fondant. So that's why I kind of do align with that Red Seal program. That's why we have this as a segment. I totally understand. I wouldn't use it. Like if I had a cake shop, and I would never have this on my menu. Too expensive, too difficult to work with, and especially now with the allergies, right? It's dangerous, right? It's very dangerous. So totally, but it's a good skill to learn. It's a good skill to have. So it's just take it as learning something new. Whether you use it or not, maybe. I hope so. But if not, it's still good. Okay. So I know I went a little over.